Good morning, Yasharahlah. Good morning, world. We come to greet you in the name of the Most High, Yahweh, and the Blessed Son, Mashiach, His Word that came in the flesh, and in the set apart Ruach. Our duty here this morning is to present to you, and on your behalf, a subject by the title of Sealing of the 12 Tribes. That's right. That's our subject, sealing of the 12 tribes. And I guess that it leaves no doubt in your mind, in your minds, that we are making reference to the sealing of the 12 tribes of the scriptures and of the nation of Yasharahlah. I would, have no particular difficulty with using the word Israel, other than the fact that word is in heavy dispute as far as I and my people are concerned. And so as we deal with this question or this subject of sealing of the 12 tribes, we want to open the teaching with the book of Esdras, chapter 1, and verse 1. Let's see if we can get together and read it, Yasharahlah. And you world out there, Esdras chapter 1, verse 1. Now in the first year of Cyrus, or some translation says Koresh, king of Persia, that the word of Allahayim, Yahweh, by the mouth of Jeremiah might be fulfilled, Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all his kingdom and put it also in writing. So as we look at the subject or continue our study of seal with regards to getting a clearer understanding of the sealing of the 12 tribes, we go back always to the original writings of our forefathers and get an understanding of how this sealing business was conducted and what is the meaning of it. The meaning of the seal, or the description of its purpose, we have right here in the first verse of Esdras, that shows us a difference in presentation of seals. For instance, then, this seal produced by King Cyrus was ordered by the Most High, Yahweh himself. And one might find it seeming to be odd that a regularly recognized heathen king gets such a command direct from the Most High. Well, of course, it's really not a new concept, because we see, I think, over and over throughout the scriptures, the Most High is dealing with the nations, whereby he speaks to individuals. For instance, Nebuchadnezzar himself. Most High spoke to him. Belshazzar. Most High spoke to him, caused his knees to buckle, and so on. So therefore, in this matter of the seal of command from King Cyrus to set free the Hebrews, we find the understanding of the components of the seal. We showed you already that it was required. It is indeed a requirement that the nation of Yasharahlah produce verification of its own seal on behalf of its own people. And so you have in the records that the elders and rulers of the people gathered them together and compiled a record of who were brought into the captivity of Babylon. And they compiled the record for the king's purpose, to see and give recognition of the people of Yasharahlah that were brought to captivity into his kingdom. And then, by order of the Most High, the king prescribes his own seal that gave order to those under his command to put in motion the process of setting free the house of Yahweh in his kingdom. And we find this process of letting free of the house of Yahweh ongoing in these kingdoms, Babylonian, Persian, Medo-Persia, and so on. But this seal here of Cyrus is very prominent, and as it were, a guidepost to show what the seal really is in terms of what it means to us as Yasharahlah. The command to set free the Hebrews, children of Yasharahlah, came directly from the Most High to the heathen king, Cyrus. So that's your first checkpoint. The order came from the Most High. And the heathen king set in motion the process by proclaiming on behalf of his own name and his nation the ordering of a seal, a document, I suppose necessarily, yes, of course, it says in the scripture that it was in writing. It was a writing, a document of article written by the king's own hand, I guess, or whoever might have been authorized by him to do it in his name. And at the end of that, his name would be signed. The document would be undersigned by the king himself, by his name. Signed in writing, yes, and or engraved, as we see today with the exercise of minting. You see where, for instance, in the making of coins, you've had the image of kings and emperors with reference to Edom in particular. But this was a practice then widespread in the old world, where kings and rulers in general would have their image engraved on a coin that would be representing their authority in the kingdom. And so Cyrus's authority was written by letter and undersigned by himself as the representation of a seal, a seal. I don't know for sure, but I think there would have been a record. There would be, if it has not been destroyed, there would be a record of this transaction, that is, the making of the seal that authorizes the liberty, the granting of liberty of Yasharahlah to be set free and to leave the kingdom of, I think it's Persia, to leave the kingdom, that kingdom, and go back to their own homeland. The point of difference in creating a seal is that this seal was authorized by no less than the Most High himself. It was not a result of the coming together of minds, different minds, or different ones chosen to do such an exercise of producing a seal to which their names would be attached, if not in the actual seal itself, somewhere it would be notified that this one, the other one, and so many of these have attached their signature to the seal that authorizes the granting of liberty to an individual or group of individuals to do or carry out such an action. So the main point here is then that the seal of Cyrus was undertaken and done according to the command from heaven itself. That's the headquarters where the command came forth unto Cyrus, the king, to let the Hebrews go free. And so he had to put it in writing that he was authorizing, as the king, over the nation or nations that were under his jurisdiction. He was putting it in the authorization of a seal that would be broadcast throughout his dominion, that it was his order to let the house of Yehoiada be free to return to their homeland. So this was not a otherwise common seal, as a seal would be common in terms of the fact that kings everywhere could produce a seal that would bear their name, their signature. And you have, in the society at large, you have educational establishments that produce a seal bearing their signature or signatures of authorized individuals, duly authorized individuals, to add their names to the power of the seal to get things done or to make provision for certain actions to be carried out to achieve a certain level or to achieve a certain thing, a certain goal, a certain status that would be to the name or the what do you call it, the credit of the one or those who are involved in, making the seal, putting the seal together. So that's a common thing of making seals or making a seal. But this seal of Cyrus comes by order, the command of heaven, because of the Father authority and rule over his people. Now, of course, we look at the other side of the matter, or of the side of opposition. There would be opposition to a seal because maybe not everyone in the kingdom would be in agreement to, in this case, give freedom to a people that are normally considered to be under the authority of the nation, or there would be disagreement, across the board, maybe, or and indeed with certain members of the society or of the very body that is creating the seal, putting the seal together to effect an authorization to do a certain thing, or maybe a number of things, right? And so there can be friction in the society or in the nation, in the governing body or bodies concerning the matter of, letting a people go from under bondage, so forth. And, the many things or matters that are sealed could be used to grant authorization for the movement of people and the incorporation of their ideas to push forward certain principles, right? All right, that's kind of exhausting the matter for a bit right there. The main point is that the order to let the house of Israel be free came from heaven unto the heathen king, Cyrus. And in obedience to it, he created the seal. And so this seal then becomes a two-part certified document. First, Yasharahlah, the house of Yahweh, had together its people together and create their own documentation of their species and of their tribe to give it to the king for his study, if you will, and for his signature of authorization to allow the process to go forward in the exercise of their liberty to move, to be let loose from containment under the hand of Cyrus. So this seal then is no ordinary seal. This is not the regular seal of government authority, as is the usual case in world governments. This authorization to create the seal here comes from heaven. I keep saying it because I wanted to sink in to your thinking. This order comes from heaven. So people are always asking, well, where is heaven? What direction is it? We're going to find out soon enough, because the king, our king, is on his return exercise to the earth. preceding his return is an exercise called the sealing of the 12 tribes of Yasharahlah. That is what is going on now. So we wanted to go and show you what happens in the sealing of the people of the Most High. In the case of the kingdom of, well, the kingdoms, the various kingdoms that they were, brought into captivity under, you see the example of sealing in regards to them from what you see here about Persia, I think it is, that issued the authorization for the house of Yahweh be set free to their home. And it was sealed by the king's authorization in cooperation with the compilation of the tribe or tribes from their own perspective. They verified who their people were and gave the representation of the number and the people to the king, so the king could add it into the proclamation that was commanded to him by the Most High of the Shamayim. So that's how that matter went in the Babylonian captivity. Now, we've shown you, I think, a number of times that there were many books that would provide evidence of how the house of Yahweh was kept or dealt with in captivity. And not surprisingly, most of those books were taken out of the so-called canon of scriptures through the English or the Roman English skullduggery, right? With the understanding of that, Yasharahlah, I guess we could probably think about where is that seal of Cyrus, the king, the great king. Where is it? Where would it be? Where would its remain be that we could see it with our own eyes if it's still in existence? It was a visible document that was written or engraved by the order of the king upon the order that he received from heaven, from the Most High. That's the important thing that you need to understand here. And so the sealing that's going on now, again, this sealing is by order of the heavens and of the Most High. And it's under the command of our Mashiach, the one whom Rome crucified. Rome crucified him. Rome, Esau, the one who was against the birthright and the birthright blessing, but took a behind the scenes, a behind the back maybe I could say order, or took a deal, a behind the back deal from the fallen one, Satan, to say no to receiving the birthright as it was offered by the Most High, and say yes to creating havoc for the one who was left to say yes to the birthright and receive the go-ahead to be the Most High's ruler in the earth, to bring back the authority that was lost when Hawa and Adam let go of their authority to rule and govern the earth, and allowed the wicked one that fell in from the Shamayim, allowed him to have access to the world of our being, not simply the physical world outside of ourselves, but the world of our own being. That's where the real problem lies. That's where it lay, prompting the response of the Most High to send forth a deliverer for man. That's who the Mashiach is. That's who is the principal offering of the birthright that was rejected by Esau. And he took a bribe to use a backdoor method of usurping or grabbing hold of the birthright. So we see through the historical records that as the Romans, Esau, did come into possession of the physical inheritance, he got in position of it through the war efforts of the Roman Empire. That was the strategy that Satan gave Rome to take away the physical representation of the birthright, which is the land of Yasharahlah. And of course, their main objective was to secure a notification of inherited right that would put to silence any matter concerning being left in command and control of the homeland of Yasharahlah. So with the crucifixion having been secured, we find Esau, Rome, at the height of its celebration, because they had gotten the privilege to destroy the birthright offering that was made in Bereshith. Some, 3,000 or more years earlier? That's how long it took from the time of the offering of the birthright to Abraham. That's how long it took to get the Mashiach into the earth. In the days of Herod, the king. It's in your scriptures, it's written there. And it's in the historical archives of Rome. that Herod and Pilate together were the co-creators of the modern state of what we call Israel. They provided the foundational articles of orders, if you will, to secure the land and to their possession, as we read about in many of the books, as I mentioned, books that were written in the captivity, in the Babylonian captivity. Many books were written that mentions the workings of nations dominated by Edom, working to secure the land of Yasharahlah into their own possession. When you read the scriptures now and you see these references about connivings to have possession of the land of Yasharahlah, you must understand that these writings that give the understanding of the attempt to do what Esau has done was all compiled in the captivity of the Babylonians, Nebuchadnezzar, leading out, that ended, with one nation after the other, one ruler after the other over the children of Yasharahlah. In the 170 years of captivity, many kings ruled over Yasharahlah. And it came to the point of the introduction of Edom through Greece, that learned its way of governance to give them the knowledge of how they could subdue the principal offering of the birthright, and the nation who bore or who would bring forth the principal article of the birthright. That was Mashiach. So Greece went into Mizraim, Egypt, to get the knowledge and wisdom of how to subdue and eradicate the nation of Yasharahlah for the purpose of usurping, taking hold of what the prophets are saying concerning the fight between Yasharahlah and Esau. The prophets all speak to the great attempt and the great desire to take the kingdom of Yasharahlah as a physical, visible place that can be seen today, not last year, today can be seen, the landmass that Satan directed Edom to wage their war against the Mashiach as the blessing, the most important factor in the in the oath sworn unto Abraham that Edom rejected flatly and then turned around to say he's sorry. And as we see in the book of Hebrews, you see them expressing sorrow over having lost, having lost the authorization to be the owners of the land that is specified in the birthright. Blessings to be the land of the principal, the principal article of the birthright, that is Mashiach. The land is his by birthright, directly, and in more than one way. As the creator, he owns it, heaven and earth. But here you have a fallen Malachim, Gabriel, having gotten into the bloodline of earthlings through Mother Hawa and Adam. They got their way, or found their way into the human bloodline by the eyes that were opened. And as spirit, they disembodied spirits, they eased their way into the body, the real physical body of man, and were set themselves up as rulers over man, and hence took possession of controlling the earth to the various nations that naturally became subject to the evil one, who gained his way into the bodies of men through the open eye of the woman and Adam. So having gotten that far in his quest to dominate the position of authority in the earth that was given unto Adam, he has worked through the division of nations, the many nations that came about, by birth, by natural birth of men and women. Many people were born, and out of them, the Father chose a people that became the people of Abraham, 12 tribes, that he would have to be reinstated into the position of authority over the earth. And therefore, those who have remained loyal to Satan and his fallen brethren, who have been allowed to take over the bodies of men and to rule, set up a rule of kingdom in these bodies of men that were in a general state of rebellion against the will and the Torah of the Most High. These were all in a confederacy to get rid of the Torah, being led by the ruler that gain access through the open eye of the woman and the man, Adam. And so again, we come to the understanding of what the sealing means. Sealing of the 12 tribes means that Mashiach, who is the author and finisher of our faith, I believe that's recorded in the book of Hebrews or Abram, he's the one leading the charge. And so in the historical processes, we have come to a time in the history of the world, of earth, and in the history of the nation of Yasharahlah, who was chosen, who has been chosen by the Most High to be his representative people in the earth, and who have continuously been coming under siege by Edom, Esau, who rejected the birthright outright, didn't want anything to do with it. But he wanted to put that slip on the Most High, like a serpent, to recoil on himself and say, I'm sorry, I wanted it. Not only that do I want it, I am prepared to fight, to make war, to destroy all the nations of the earth if possible, to be the one honored, to be the ruler that is supposed to be a position of birthright. But I wish to rule outside of birthright. I will take it by force and destroy anything and everyone that would dare to put in front of me an article of birthright that says you were not chosen to have this land and to be its ruler and owner. So this is where we are in the fight. And we've seen that, again, in the process of time and history, there were many wars fought to have control of what they call the Holy Land. There were many wars fought, initiated by the same one who refused the birthright. Refused it, didn't want anything to do with it. But in the serpent's portfolio, he comes around, he coils around in serpentine fashion to demand rights, to demand the right to have possession of the birthright offering that he refused. And by war, he has contested it, has continued to contest it, even to this day. We find him as a one unit nation from one unit. Whereas, of course, the Father's standard is 12 tribes. But this one individual puts himself forward in the place of 12 to say that he is the ruler. And he says so by the authorization of Satan, the fallen one. And so we have this matter under the authority of heaven again, as Cyrus, Koresh was given command by heaven to set the house of Jehoiada free to go back to their home. Can you have the command to seal the 12 tribes for the honor of birthright to have possession of that land they call the Holy Land, the land of Yasharahlah, that is the birthright of the Mashiach, who was born already to be king over the people and that land. He has already been born to be the king over the land and the people. But you have here the children of Esau who rejected the birthright, want nothing to do with it. Yet, in the will of Satan, they are putting up this apparently authoritative fight for right to have the land in their possession, in possession, in contravention of the order of the Most High, who created the whole earth and the land that they're fighting for, and the nation to whom he gave birthright to have the authority to rule the whole earth from that land. You have the rejector, I guess, of the covenant, the one who threw behind his back, didn't want anything to do with it. It comes back to make a pretense, as we see in the book of Hebrews, that he sought to recover the birthright with many crying and tears. It was only a pretense. Hence, he couldn't recover it because he wasn't genuine. If he was genuine, he would not have done it in the first place. So he continues to keep up the pretense that he really wants to have a possession of the land, even though it is already spoken for, has been spoken for clearly and with precision in the birth, death, burial, and resurrection of the Mashiach, whom Esau, Rome, crucified and put it in their stately writings of the Nicene Creed. It's written in stone, if you will, that this people of Edom made the valiant attempt to destroy the Messiah completely. And in later years, in the 400 years enslavement, exercise, they put in a move or exercise themselves in the matter of attempt to annihilate physically. I say physically. So if you get rid of the thing from physical appearance, I mean, essentially you gotten rid of it. You know, the only person can resurrect it is the Most High. But to all intents and purposes, it has been vanquished and destroyed. And that was the attempt of Edom in the 400 years enslavement to obliterate the people of the birthright that he rejected. This is the irony of it, and makes it kind of laughable, but it's a serious matter because Edom is on a satanic binge to take possession of a people that do not bear his name, but rather bear the name of the owner of the cosmos and the earth, the master who created it for his pleasure, for his honor, and for his esteem, who has called Abraham to be the possessor of heaven and earth. And this is the status of the Mashiach, possessor of heaven and earth, the king of Yasharahlah, and prince of the kings of the earth. So whatever belongs to the kings of the earth are belonging to the prince of the kings of the earth, who is our Mashiach, the Prince of Shalom. He owns it all. So we have to be encouraged, Yasharahlah, that in the false representation for heritage of the land that was rejected by Esau, who now resorts to nuclear weaponry to fight for control and right to be the inheritor of the land outside of the birthright covenant that has already been ratified by the death. Well, firstly the birth, then the death, burial, and resurrection of the Mashiach. It's written, and Rome has the record. Esau has the record. So what are you going to do with someone like this, who is as feisty as this, to come into the face of the Most High, the creator of heaven and earth, and all that in them is, this authority that has the oversight of the entire cosmos? Satan has directed his fight against the Mashiach through the so-called Jew, Edom, Esau. These are the ones antagonizing the program of the Most High that is under the authority of the Mashiach, possessor of heaven and earth. That's what it is. So we are in this debacle, Yasharahlah, but as it becomes in order, according to the procession of time, we are in a period called the sealing, and the sealing of the 12 tribes. So, well, maybe I would do a separate lesson on the matter. The matter is for us to discuss who are these 12 tribes and what is the number that comprises those that are to be sealed, those that would be sealed, those that will be sealed. We want to know, what is it about the number and what Esau has done to falsify and misrepresent the number. I think we'll come back to it in another lesson. Until then, Yasharahlah, May the Most High bless you. Make his face to shine upon you. Be gracious unto you. Secure you. In the name of Mashiach, our Master, our Savior, and King. We bless you. So let it be.